Do it.
Okay, five, four, three,
three,
two, one.
2.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon?
Welcome
Oh, yeah.
back to the
Five,
Big
4, 3,
Announcement
2,
Coming
1.
Soon podcast. It is early in the morning here. My ceiling light is broken, so I look a little creepy. How are you guys doing today? I got David here, and Nick is back with us after a few weeks away.
Awesome. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, real well. On location out by out by the pool here in Bangkok. Not so early. But yeah. Similar
Touching
similar,
grass a little bit.
similar grass style, creepiness style. Yeah.
So it's been kind of a wild week. We last time we talked was before we went through to real all-time highs, and for me that was passing 69,420 on Binance, and seeing it on CMC as everybody passes. But we got to the mid 70s or low 70s and dropped. It was the weekend. We were leveraged up. There was apparently somebody trading a Bitcoin to MicroStrategy's arbitrage trade that blew up for $1 billion, but we went down, and then the tweet started of every bull market we get 30% down, and it went down maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20 to 30 for alts. Kind of a freaky weekend if we forget about how nice yesterday was.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, all those reasons I think happened. I saw a tweet also from a guy I follow who's good, Axel Kibar. And he just said, yeah, like what you don't see in markets is what the masses do, right? And so we hit that all-time high, and enough people came into the market to start selling to overcome the ETF inflows. And then also Barry had a big sell day. There was a couple sell days before the FOMC, and so everything tumbled, and everyone was like, yeah, look at it, it's dipping, and it legitimately looked like it, because it usually what, and a lot of people cold-blooded Schiller and stuff would say is like, if it sharply dips and then the next day it comes right back up and then keeps sideways, that's not a dip. That's just a flush. But when it stops being a flush is after you dip and then you close the next candle below the recent highs 2 days ago or whatever. Then you're really starting to come into a downtrend, and you're starting to bump up against DMAs on the bottom side. So then that started and that continued, and it was like down and then down again to 61. And then it's come back up, and it's come back up really strongly. And so that invalidated the argument. Like, so up until that point, I was bearish until yesterday when it kind of came up. Now it's a little neutral leaning bullish, but looks pretty strong to have come straight through that previous day's candle. FOMC was treated well by the traditional markets, all-time highs, I think, on S&P. So
They're keeping
seems
it flat,
like we're
right?
strong again, right? So,
And FOMC being the interest rates for the U.S. Fed, but flat, right? No change.
yeah, but yeah, they're basically not going to change it. There was some talk about maybe they would not boost it, but like talk about, higher for longer still. And they're like, no, we're still thinking of cutting. And yeah, it was enough for everyone to just be like, yep, let's get back in. And so off they went. So yeah, it kind of depends on what happens now, though. Like, it needs to start pushing higher. Like, it can't come back down and start closing below 65 anywhere. I mean, it can, but like, then it starts to sway negative, and it starts to sway bearish, because you're starting to think like, if it's doing that, you're seeing more sellers. People are agreeing that the price is worth less than it used to be for a prolonged period of time. That represents a shift in the mindset, maybe only temporarily, but at least it still represents a shift in mindset, or at least a pause in the market. And hey, maybe that pause is sideways and then gotta go. That would be cool. But
Well, like you said, temporarily, it could be. Is it trading down or is it trending down?
yeah, exactly. Or like it went down, and like, so now you've got the range between all-time high 68 or whatever, 69, and then 65, and it kind of tracks in between those numbers for a bit before rising. Psychologically, I could kind of imagine it like, you're let's say you bought, or you're someone who's held Bitcoin since 2021 or something, and you're finally back in the money, and then suddenly it dips back down and you're out of the money again after 4 years, after that brief glimmer of hope. and you're like, oh man, maybe that was it, and you sell.
Hmm.
A lot of people do that. Um, it's painful sitting in negative, and you finally see profit, and then suddenly it
Yep.
goes negative again. Like,
I
so
remember
that's
those
what it's all
years.
about. Yeah.
um, so Nick, you had the same weekend with it dipping after all-time highs, but you also had some Solana meme fun this last week. How's your week been? All right, really 2, 3, 4 weeks going back.
It's funny because I don't like. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I haven't opened up a Binance app in months. I haven't checked prices of majors in months, and it's just because I've been busy on the side doing things, building, working with other things. But mostly I've a few honeypots from ETH, and found my calling in some Solana or like Soul meme coin. So to be fair, like I can tell you every meme coin that I've been in the last 3-4 months, but I have not been keeping track of much else. So for me, when everyone was talking about a dip, I was really enjoying what Darkfarms was doing, really enjoying the theatrics. It reminded me, Jeff, of like back in the bear market when ACK did the color study and the X copy burn, and it
Hmm.
led to the introduction of Manifold, which led to us creating a token, right? Like there's a lot of cool things that
Oh,
happened. And
creating
I
an
think what was
NFT. I don't
cool this
want
time around, like,
Long jump token.
sorry, SEC. No, you know what I'm saying.
to. Yeah.
Creating an NFT that we called Rusted Bandits token,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
because of its ability to change metadata, right? You're seeing that now being brought towards meme coins. And that kind of concept that we talked about, Jeff, like the curation of a Darkfarms daily GM or daily GN, which is what our inspiration was for our little thing, right?
Hmm.
That now is become through similar pathways like Airwave and other storage and housing platforms or things. They're now like creating the book of meme, which is bigger than a meme coin, and probably putting it simply like it's more than a book. So I think that's what Darkfarms did, and it changed the game a little bit. Um, Also, it happened with like the most diamond hands community that I know,
Hmm.
when he said, "Hey, just send me some soul, and you'll get something back. There's no price." And yes, we've been through this before with Ben.East and other people when we like, oh, well, now we're just repeating everything on a different chain. The send me a pre-sale vibe. But I think Dark Farms really did it differently. And the reason I know that is because I've been in this like tiny chat, which eventually got labeled the Cabal. But it was literally a bunch of people, and they said, like, remember the Kevin PFP? They were just like,
Love
this
it.
is who
Yeah.
they're trading. This is who they're trading against, and this is who we are. And it was all Kevin PFPs. And it's like the Smalls community is lovable and fun. They're not they're not like connected to everybody. But the fact that the Dark Farms thing happened was just the perfect storm, um, in terms of like being in part of a right community at the right time. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I went through every emotion of those charts that we look at, Jeff, when we're talking about
Hmm.
euphoric, fear, disbelief. You know what I mean? Like, because it was nuts to go from like a pre-sale and then like, oh, well, let's buy more at 140,000 market cap, and then go up to 1.4 or 1 point almost 2 billion when I
Yeah.
sold it at like, I mean, I was out at like 1 bill, because I couldn't believe it. It just was like, what's going on? This is real. And then you saw a lot of copycats, right? And unfortunately, that's where the liquidity game comes into play, and everybody who's late to the party ends up getting rugged or scammed. And if you saw the bold Laurinaitis photo, the new cartoon meme, which is a really good guy, like a daily cartoonist from Australia,
Hmm.
Yeah, I like
he
gold.
made he made this very simple thing that we used to know as the Bitcoin. Each loop gets a bit smaller and smaller and smaller, except he labeled it with theme, right? Which was doll's hat, the biggest one. And then again, like the analogy of the ball under the cup, Jeff, like then the loop gets smaller and it's called Book of Meme. And then the loop gets smaller and it's called like whatever that sloth coin was that rugged everybody. And then the loop gets smaller and then it's ETH and then it drops. And that was the only reason why I knew, like, oh, everybody else got fucked too, not just me, right? Like it was because of
Well, hold on,
how the
got fucked.
flow of
You just said you pulled a one. You went from 100K and change to a bill.
Mm. Yeah, of course. But then you're like, but you when you still like, yeah, okay, that happened for
That was
sure.
good.
But like, it was really good. But then when and when you look at it and you're like, hey, I could just cash out with this amount of Solana, or I could be like, this is another thing that's going to work. Like that's the friend of Darkfarms. Like I guess the moral of the story is like don't chase derivatives, or like I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe I think what I thought the most is like, and this is a good strategy for any trader. If you have a big win, fuck, man, like take like 6 hours off because like you'll need like a dopamine detox. Because I literally was on a overnight field trip at my day job while I'm getting these DMs about Bome, and I'm like, what is this? And what did I do? And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, one friend that I know like in the smallest community dropped 73K in the pre-sale, right? And when when the screenshot came out 2 days later, he had $20 million. And he's just a regular dude, right? Like these are cats that are just Darkfarms maxis.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, all these fucking kids are behind me. You hear that? But anyways, like that was the point. Sorry, it's talking too long, but it's like Darkfarms did something very ACK, very almost rare Pepe, like kind of more theatrical, like VVD style or Jack Butcher style. And I think that is the end of memes, the current meme narrative. And I think if you look at like what Red Lion magazine, remember Jeff, we did a piece with them a while ago. Red Lion, their gazette this week is about Darkfarms, and it says like documenting a moment in crypto history where one artist changed the meta forever. Hats off to a historical week. And whether you made money on it or not, and whether you made money and then lost money and then like I did, but I mean, you ultimately went along with cool, really cool people, and we know them personally. And the funny part is like when they blew up and became exponential, everybody was like, bullshit, insider trader. Like it's on Binance in 2 days. But no, it really was actually just the combination of the right time, some diamond hand holders, and someone who shows up every day, even throughout the bear market, like Darkfarms.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's anyone who does memes better than the Darkfarms community. And we've had podcasts about this in the past about tracing it back to like 6529 copied off of Darkfarms and Pepe. All the derivatives that came out with memes. The coin in term memes was actually a subculture with crypto dick butts and small things that we knew, right? And it became like oversaturated now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my piece, right? But I think we all know where it's coming from, and I think we need to honor the fact that Darkfarms just kind of snuck up like Jaws, took a big bite out of everything. Surprisingly, when we underestimated this artist for a long time.
Yeah, well said. I think it's the big difference between the early meme coins and meme coins with community and something behind it, and the 15 that launch after. And you're saying, take your win and go home. Don't try to get 4 wins.
But I'm also saying like there's a correlation between like there were a hardcore community of fans who didn't sell, hence why it went up. So you have this like almost like GameStop vibe, but you also had people, which is why the cartoon is so vivid, right? You also had people who knew that was a good opportunity to move the ball under another cup, and that's why that liquidity game continued. Dog with hat people exited a lot. And where could they do that? They did it through that meme. When that meme sold, like boom, it went into something else smaller. So you're also watching the transfer of money through large cap market coins when there's a lot of volume and it's easy to move big chunks around. I think that's also what you have to understand. And then somehow along the lines, everything kind of went through there and then just wrecked the market. And if you look at Soul meme coins right now, including Bome, yeah, it's rough if you bought the top. And the top, you have to remember that it went to the top in 48 hours. That's nuts.
I mean, I think, you always like if you're playing meme coins, and I don't, although I just started a little bit just for, just not feeling bad about myself. But I think you have to, it's like a totally different game. You have to understand not to put very much money into it. And the key thing is that like you are trying to trade back for as much soul as possible,
Yeah.
not keep the meme coin. And so the what happened is essentially it's like fireworks, right? Like you want to like leave right before the fireworks finish, because
Hmm.
then everyone's going to cram the parking lot and everything like that. So, I mean, I think what's interesting about memes is like if you zoom out and you say, okay, lots of people are spending soul on meme coins. If you're that person, the key thing is to keep that very small, because essentially what's happening is they are paying quality money for extremely speculative, actually worth nothing money. And then the people who gather all that money in are then new, larger soul holders. And that's also why you start to see soul dumping, because a lot of the meme producers will just then dump their soul for cash. And so the underlying is a good investment for sure. And then with meme coins, you probably want to put a little out there on the meme coins for fun, but yeah, they're it's really you're playing the slots, right?
100% you're playing the slots, and I think that's why you're seeing also the death of that original narrative, and I think you're almost having to see other people add utility to these meme coins, because let's be honest, how many times did we mention altcoins in this podcast today? We didn't. It's Bitcoin, ETH, and meme coins. It's not altcoins anymore, and that's a strange thing,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
because
well,
meme
that
in that
was this
role.
week. My hold on,
Yeah.
I don't want to forget. Like, I guess the last couple weeks we've been talking AI coins, and again, we're talking about what we're interested in, but AI coins have done well. It is one of those trad 5 futures that it ties in with crypto. Um,
But the key
but
thing
there's
is,
something happening there that's not happening in meme coins. Like, if the price goes down, Render, Fet, Akash, they're still doing what they do. If the price goes up, they do what they do.
yeah, I mean, it's abstraction levels, right? I mean, there are some coins that don't do anything, and there are some that do. But I think it's just like any cycle, right? Like every cycle starts. Got to think who's coming into the cycle. So we already had kind of a cycle with like Sol going from 8 to 70, and like all that was all like basically OGs and people who are veterans coming back, putting their money back where they enjoy their favorite projects. And then you start to see retail coming. And where retail first comes is money. I want to make lots of money. I want to make as much money as possible quickly. So they go to the memes, easy to enter, low cost, fast trading solutions, um, which is interesting. Like that's why you get derivatives at the end of the market. We'll talk about that in a second. But so memes come first. And then what happens is out of those people, basically like 90% of them get wiped out, but 10% of them make money. And they think, okay, this crypto thing's actually, yeah, I just had a little bit of fun with it, but it was ridiculous. But now I'm a little bit more, I've made money, and now what do I do with this money? Let's find another market, and maybe they go into more meme coins. But a significant portion of those then become crypto believers, because making money, there's nothing that makes you more of a believer than making money. And they get to be then they start to be a bit more bespoke, and they start to put their money into investments. In fact, just recently I had a friend or someone who asked like, oh, okay, I have a friend who's all in meme coins. He wants to get serious, and he wants to get serious by going into AI, which is fine. I mean, I'm not laughing at that. It makes sense. But like that's the kind of the filter down, right? So like that's kind of how I see it. It's like, so always meme coins come first because they're easy and silly, and people who are most willing to just throw money at something will throw money at meme coin. Then you get altcoins, where it requires someone to kind of like do a little research and like come to the idea that crypto is correct, it's going to go up, and I'm going to have a special edge on it. Maybe that's GameFi, maybe that's AI, maybe that's whatever it is, and that's where that you get those kind of bids. And so that's where I kind of today and just recently, like, so you had the AI craze because that's still, I wouldn't say dumb money, but like new money. They're thinking crypto. What's also, happening in tech? AI. Crypto and AI. That's got to be a good combination. I'm going to buy those coins. Right? And that's about the level of the noobs mindset when they first enter a market. Because you can't buy Bitcoin because it's too expensive. Is the thinking. Right? So what's the next thing? But then but when you do that, you then become a holder of those coins rather than just speculating back and forth. And that's when the market really starts to like accrue value. Whereas right now it's more of the casino accruing value by essentially rinsing 90% of the people who are coming in.
So my favorite rinse to kind of close this and move back to our majors. This is a tweet from Gripto_GK. And I don't have the name of the person doing this. Probably it's just an OX address, but somebody's launching, meme coins on base, not advertising them, not trying to get anybody to buy it, letting all the auto buying bots who buy in the first 10 minutes and sell 10 minutes later buy, and rugging it 10 minutes later for tiny profits. So he's just rugging bots. It seems like a great Robin Hood move, the character, not the app. And this is the funniest thing I've seen all week. I absolutely love this.
Yeah, man, find your niche and grind it. What a ledge.
That sounds amazing. And it reminds me of like pivotal turn in terms of sentiment, because we saw a lot of bear market scams, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is probably one of the first bull market scams that I've seen, right? And so it's like, that's funny to see like what happens when you go through a proper cycle and you see how the scams evolve or adapt and try to remain agile to get you to like click a link for an airdrop, when it's airdrop season, or do this and that. It's a famous meme coin or NFT. But yeah, the bots are a popular thing right now. So that's hilarious. And I'm curious to see like, we actually need a museum one day of like rugs and scams. We need to figure out like the way that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame takes you from an 8-track to a cassette to a DVD or whatever to the iPad or iPod. We need that. We need to find someone who could curate that and actually walk us through, because I'm sure just like memes, good memes and bad memes.
It'd be the Zach XBT wing at the Ohm Museum.
Yeah.
The Ohm Museum. Yeah, no, totally, exactly. It's there are lots of. I mean, but bottom line is, it shows that it's more profitable for bots to just randomly buy every shitcoin that's launched on base and try and front run them currently, and get rugged on 99% to hit that one that just goes ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so it makes a room for this guy to cut his living on a 0.2F trade.
Well, and this is even from watching Dex Screener years ago, just watching it run, not even in coins I was in, because I wasn't touching that kind of stuff. But 10 minutes in, and then the bots are going to buy in the first 10 and sell in the next 20. Like, they're looking for 0.1 returns, like hundreds and hundreds of tiny, even 0.1 is a pretty big return for bot. So, you see the big sandwich trades where they make a lot. Most bot runs in and out are tons and tons of tiny ones. So rugging all of them quick before they have the chance to do their tiny rug is so great.
It's the Lord's work, sir. It is.
Fighting the AIs. Human sandwich attacks.
Mm-hmm. Human sandwich. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Is that the next narrative? Human sandwich.
I feel like it's a good hashtag. Yeah.
So I have a much more boring narrative. ETH's been called a commodity by the CBTC. ETH's been written about as a commodity by the SEC. ETH is traded on the futures market as a commodity. And this week, two things happened. Gensler from the SEC said ETH is a security and we're coming after the ETH Foundation, which is, from what I understand, it's a organization in Switzerland, unless it's an updated one that it's a nonprofit to develop on ETH. Kind of the core that started it in the beginning, and then since then lots of different decentralized projects use ETH to build on, not one. I can't think of what the ETH Foundation does other than some back-end maintenance and doing EIP stuff, but that's not the company that runs ETH in reality or in anybody's view. Then Mr. Larry Fink over at BlackRock took $100 million, put it into USDC on the Ethereum chain, and started a tokenized securities fund. So you can put securities on ETH. It can represent anything in a token. ETH has not been formally classified, but years and tons of government statements point to not a security, not opinion, just like reading the SEC and CBDC stuff. So he seems to be fudding the ETH bags. Gensler does, we're not getting a security. Larry Fink's not putting $100 million of USDC on ETH if he's not big into ETH and not going to get his ETF.
And he's talked about tokenizing, doing this and tokenizing lots of different things on ETH. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's pretty bad faith. Like, I mean, even like the A16Z lawyer starting to say like it's just bad faith on the SEC lawyers' behalf. So essentially, like two options. I mean, ETH will become an ETF one way or the other. It's just whether they have to be dragged through court first for a couple of years. So they can either, I guess it's political. It's like these stages, it's hard to see what other argument there is. Yeah, just basically say ETH hasn't been, traded long enough like Bitcoin had, so therefore we need to reassess it for longer. They get sued, they get called capricious and whatever again, and then they basically turn over, and it'll be DCG who probably wins that again with the ETH, because he'll say, yeah, look, like now you're hurting our people again with the same thing that was hurting our people before because of this inability to convert this ETH to a security. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they're probably going to do it anyway, what everyone seems to think. And there's not a lot of feedback coming back from the SEC, which means they've kind of made up their mind. They're just now like waiting to like drop the bomb on May 20th or something like that.
So you're saying they're going to go ahead and lose another court case because that's what happens after May if they deny it. Yep. You don't think they're just going to be quiet and then let it quietly pass?
Yeah, what's the point of that? Is that to extend the time horizon to try to what are we doing in terms of DGen market? Are we accumulating here? Like, what's going on? Like, why are we delaying it, and why are we now flip-flopping it in a degree?
The ETH BTC, well, ETF. If the ETF launched, especially with people starting to doubt it, you would, like I saw someone say, you would just see the most ridiculous God candle ever. Yeah. So it's kind of a matter of wait. Like ETH holders have been, being one of them, have been. I don't know. It's weird being an ETH holder because you're like making money, but you're making less money than if you were holding BTC. And on drops, you lose less money, but it never really goes up as much. And so you're kind of like you're holding like silver when you could be holding gold, with the hope that silver then takes off because it's whatever. And yeah, I mean, but history at least would tell us don't fade ETH. It's got all the platforms. So like even if, for example, you start, so let's say base season is next or optimism or whatever it is, they're still processing ETH transactions, showing ETH's value. And even if it's like, so people are like, well, I mean, they're all L2s and now it's all cheap, so much less ETH is being burned. Yeah, I don't think that really matters compared to like just people buying ETH to swap it onto base to use it to buy meme coins or whatever it is. Like,
and the second part of that argument is the Sol ETH argument. People are saying, well, Sol keeps its prices low but has millions more transactions because it's cheap and adds up. And with proto-dank sharding, so ETH got cheaper in gas last week, and L2s got significantly cheaper. They were creeping up to $85 to $2 a transaction on Arbitrum and Optimism. Now fractions of a penny, I believe, or tiny pennies, but
base is less than that. Right?
Yeah, but we have to understand. All right, this is different, right? This is going back to what happens when mass adoption ensues. I had this argument today about Nickelback, okay, and bands and people thinking that this is like this band is more popular than another band, and I'm like, bro, it's timing. It's all about timing and platforms. Okay, we are looking at Sol now as let's say, to David's point earlier, one step away from the meme coins, or two degrees away from the meme coins. So you're in something legitimate, maybe that you like, maybe you're a diehard, right? But I mean, oh fuck, where's I gonna go? I was going with this somewhere. Hold on, I'm still going with it.
Well, I think you're saying that the meta is on Sol, and so therefore that's where to keep betting. But I think The problem is that what I would argue is that those people don't actually have money. Everyone who's DJing on Soul has like $100 and they're like trying to make $1 million off of it. The real buyers come now that we've broken all-time high, and the serious buyers don't buy. They want to buy the serious coin, which is Ethereum, and then they want to use the serious thing, which is DeFi, or they want to like invest in this. So like not everyone comes into the mentality. So it's like if you think about like your average, I don't know, 27, 8-year-old and working in a TradFi or something, like has a bunch of money, hasn't really been able to figure it out. Has a friend who is, just down the street working part-time and is
at Wendy's, whatever.
Loads of money on meme coins.
Right.
Does that TradFi guy then go into meme coins? I don't think so. I think he says like, I'm not
depends,
that guy. I can make the next
depends on the circle. But I remember what I was I remember what I was going to say now. What I was going to say is very similar to what David said, but in paraphrasing, right? Like the fucking people who are buying Solana don't care that the chain already crashed again. How many times have we unplugged it and plugged it back in? How many times has ETH done that?
11.
What's Solana? Yeah, thanks, man. Turn it up to 11, bro. Like that's exactly what happened. Like where it's like this amp goes up to 11. No, bro. Like okay, ETH gets cheaper in gas. We understand that with sharding. Solana's argument is it's very fast, and all the pores, like David's saying, all the pores are on Solana, or all those who can't learn beyond,
uni kids and things like that.
Or as the flip side, or the contrarian side is like, or those who are like, oh, really missing out, like Barry. Like Barry gets FOMO, and he's like, oh, I missed Bome, and goes in. Like there are Farouks, and there are others who have like went from the other side back in, and we've seen that, and that's what perpetuates this stuff. But again, it all goes back to like moving liquidity around. We're still really small. We're a small community, bro, and as much as like the ETFs and others have come in, that in terms of those in the know, those building, those moving money around, those watching narratives, those even talking about narratives, that is very still tiny compared to the world, which is what the goal and the scale is, right? Like, and I think that's funny. And it's funny to be
hold on.
Side.
I want to, like you just said, and we've mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I kind of want to end it here. We're just past 30 minutes. The people we're talking to in the scale of CT, like Nick just said, and the scale of the world. So we're 30 days away from the halvening, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I work in IT. 2 people that I work with have owned alts and Bitcoin and own a little bit, but they're not active in the space. They're just kind of, yes, they participated in the past. Generally, I don't hear about it. I've heard about it a little bit on NPR. I guess it hit CNBC the other day. I learned about that from Peter Schiff because that's how far removed I am from mainstream news. That I get my CNBC news from Peter Schiff, the gold guy. But like Nick just said, we're in it every day. We were in it for the memes. We weren't just in it for the ones that got big. We were aware of every crap 10K market cap meme that some of us chose not to touch, and some of us might have, you touch the fire, you get burned.
That's right.
But
that's right, bro. If we were okay, listen, you have to understand.
But is the peak when we were all excited, or is the peak when your neighbors know about it?
What do you mean peak? Like we're not even close to the peak yet.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Is 2 weeks ago felt very peakish. All the meme coins, 72K, but our circle is this on Twitter. We're super into it. We're in it every day. That's all we talk about. Sometimes I talk about my band. I have a cover band. That's completely separate. But like, this is all we're doing. So like Nick said, what about the rest of the world? Our circle's tiny, and that's who's excited.
Here's what the rest of the world's doing. They don't know even the term faded. Because I was like, bro, I faded Pepe. I'm not fading Bome. And the guy's like, what's that even mean? And I'm like, oh, sorry. And like, they're like, all right, this is our 3rd cycle. Maybe David's 4th. Maybe some people's longer, more, right? Imagine, like, let's equate that. You're a 3rd generation wrestler right now. You're The Rock. You're Rocky Maivia. Your dad was a wrestler. His dad was a wrestler. It's passed down. The ins and outs have been conveyed. Maybe because of that, we're in too deep. and we know too much about everything. Like I can tell you what my latest Darkfarms NFT sold for. Shouldn't be able to rattle that off. But I'm saying like we're in too deep because we know it's good and it's great and it's amazing watching friends win. It's amazing watching friends go from consumers to producers and builders to fucking millionaires. And I think that's the part of the showing up every day. That's the part of understanding narratives. And we all used to work in education and we're all in the tech field. Like it's just a part of evolving, right? Like it's like, okay, like it's not a dull moment. It's not going to be the same. Make the best of it. And I don't know, man. I think for me, again, win, lose, or draw, the journey, it sounds so cliche and memey, but the journey and the friends along the way is so fun. Like, it's hilarious. Of like, oh, Rafi became a millionaire, Jeff. Remember him? Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
He seems like a really nice
friends. Yeah.
I think, yeah, it definitely, there's, so I would, before we kind of wrap, I would argue that, yeah, definitely, but putting it all into context, it's important to know where you stand, right? So like if you're like, it's fun and it's funny in the way slots are funny in a casino, but
Yeah.
like if you become the guy who like wakes up to go to the slot machines, like many people do, that's like that's a problem. So don't do that.
That's not fun.
So like
No.
still like whatever you do, not financial advice, but whatever you do not put more than 5%, and that's a large number of your wealth into any meme coin at any time. Unless it's Doge, maybe. Because essentially the problem with it isn't that it won't go up or whatever. It's that you're not ready as a trader to deal with it, and you'll miss it. Like, 100%. It's just math. It's 99% of people lose money on meme coins. That's just math, right? It's like the lottery. So you have to put it in context of the fun you're having within the larger picture of trying to get wealthy, if that's what you're here for, or if you're just here to find fun, that's also cool. But like, don't take the advice on this podcast of like, yeah, meme coins are the way. Definitely still hold Bitcoin, Ethan.
As far as advice, as soon as Nick mentioned The Rock, I know way more about The Rock, Rocky Johnson, his dad, High Chief Peter Maivia, his maternal grandfather. I can talk way more about wrestling than I should have any authority on meme coins, but I don't have a wrestling podcast yet.
Yeah.
And I haven't, I guess I know way more about 90s wrestling. I haven't watched it in maybe 20 years, but.
The Rock is back, bro. That's why I referenced it. I'm trying to get that SEO vibe, right? I'm trying to get those search engine up. Anyways. All right.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah,
He's back.
We are hopefully up for, if Bitcoin holds this level and continues to creep up, go up, we're probably in for some pretty good alt action as the kind of real money starts to flow in. VCs are coming back, all that kind of stuff. Memes are like kind of like if a bunch of people threw a street party and that was pretty cool, and then someone's like, hey, parties, that's pretty awesome, we should set those up professionally in clubs and have like DJs and stuff, and like that's what happens next. So
block party, after party, exclusive party. I think that's the same thing. It's all but again, it's all just this double loop or roller coaster or loop de loop of money, right? It's just like everything is
for
going
some, but Bitcoin's not on the same loop. It's hitting the halvening with no rugging.
Yeah, but I'm talking the multi-chains. No, that's different. That's a different wash altogether. So that's a different laundry. I'm not talking about a bit of things. Right?
It's a good comparison. Track any meme coin over 10 years. Track Bitcoin over any Bitcoin over 10 years. Your Bitcoin will definitely outperform your meme coin over 10-year period. So these are not long-term investments. They may not even be hour-long investments in some cases.
Yeah, and you have to that 10-year thing means you must be a trader if you're in meme coins, not an investor, because you have to be out.
You're a gambler pretending you're a trader, I would even argue.
Dude, how come they're allowed to be called meme coins? They're shit coins. They shouldn't be allowed to be called meme coins. There's no meme. They're like, hey, this is a flip art of a baby, but it's cute. Meme coin. No.
So you want to separate out? There's Bitcoin, there's alts, there's meme coins, there's shit coins.
Yes, please. Can I advocate for the meme coins? Like I'll hold that for Like that will be that guy holding the flag for most of the Asian tourists. You walk through the airport, differentiating what is a meme coin and what is a shit coin, because I
Uh,
don't really like that.
I would be
Focus.
the only thing I would say is that is as especially as we go on in crypto, and this will occur to all cryptos, not just meme coins, is probably if you're starting to make money in crypto, like consider not telling many people about it, not convincing them to buy, not doing any of those things, because if the crypto craze goes as crazy as it might, most people will lose money on it. Like they'll buy too high, they'll hold too long, then they'll lose money. Um, and
True.
all of those people will eventually, in some way, blame you for that because you helped get them in. It's a truth that's hard to know because you
Hmm.
want to go and tell everyone and like, yeah, you can like do this too and whatever. But just be careful
Yeah,
because
great point.
you're entering people in, firstly, at a level you're not at, secondly, at a time you didn't enter in, and thirdly, you're then like mixing like professional with personal, and you're taking on a lot of responsibility that you may not realize you're taking on when you're giving this great advice,
Right.
um,
Well,
because it's real money, right?
and
Like,
most
and people will
importantly,
sometimes say
you
the
might
dumb thing.
you might give them advice thinking they're going to be in with 2 feet. And some people I've talked to have come and asked me. I've said what I thought. They jump on Twitter. They learn what they're doing. They get their own ideas. Other people come and talk to me, and then I realize that they didn't. They're not following up with daily crypto. So if they don't see me and it goes up or goes down, they go, "Oh, how's that doing?" I'm like, "You don't know every 5 minutes how it's doing." Um, but people aren't ready to dive in with 2 feet, and if you're not, that's why you have somebody else manage your money in traditional markets. You you don't know, and I guess you assume you can do crypto, but you can, I can't trade my own stocks. I have somebody manage it, but I'm going to trade my own crypto.
Yeah, and it's because people who they consider to be, less capable than them have made money doing it, and so therefore they must be able to make money doing it, and that's the whole trick essentially of the casino. Like that's how a casino works. Um, and so yeah, like exactly. So we're entering an interesting point in the market where you're going to be asked for a lot of advice. Be very careful what you give, and when you give it to people, which they inevitably ask for, stick it with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum majors because there will be worth something over the longer term. So holding for 10 years, you'll make money, but also you won't lose it um, because of whatever reason. And also, the other thing is to realize that just because you're really into, like, let's say, for example, AI coins right now, the person you're advising to buy a coin will not trade it, not sell it, not do any of that stuff. They'll just hold it, right? And so maybe AI is the meta right now, and like 2 months from now, you're like, okay, time to sell all the AI, but your guy over there never is not going to do it. He's like, oh no, I just hold. This is what I do with the stock market. This is how it works for me. And then AI tanks or whatever it is. So when you're giving advice, that's why you always only stop the most blue chip until you really understand who it is you're talking to and what their level of. Because yeah, you're playing with, you're allowing them to play in an area that has lots of lions and tigers and bears. Um,
Oh my.
yeah, and it's real money, oh my.
This is a great, by the way. This is the most financial advice that, that's not financial advice. Love it.
No, exactly. The financial advice is to not take financial advice and just follow with what you do.
Yeah.
So meta. So meta.
Be simple. Most people lose trading.
No, it's so good though. It's so true because you're right. Like we think we're growing the network, we think we're doing the Lord's work, and no, it's like, oh shit, like we kind of like that Coldplay line where we're not sure if we're the cure of the disease. Like when you
No,
when
we
you
all work
get
for
to
casino. We're just all part-time casino workers, and so that's why it's always important towards the end of the thing. Watch what the casinos are doing. If the casino workers, regular workers, are like edging towards the exits, yeah, time to go. Because yeah, these are all marketing things of the casino that take players to play. It takes our money to play it. We just hope that I mean, it's really like Ponzi scheme-ish in a lot of the coins, unless there's like utility. So that's like one last thing before we go is that Slurf guy. And who knows? Maybe he was dumb enough to like rug himself and the LP. There's also reports of him sending Sol out to another wallet, or it was a big marketing stunt and Slurf is who knows. But one thing or other is that is quite funny is that if you raise $10 million and then you lose it, that's still taxable. So he still owes 10 million on that raise. If the IRS finds him.
That's amazing. I love that.
Not for him, but generally funny. So if you're doing a pre-sale and you actually just be careful of taxes as well. Like you may like raise a bunch of money, screw it up, and then you're suddenly like, okay, on the hook.
So I would say, as somebody who just compiled, I had to go find purchases from 2018, my tax write-up last weekend, and I'll actually get my other paperwork and send it off to the tax guy. I don't believe the people who are rugging the meme coin pools are paying taxes. That's just a speculation. The Slurf guy isn't going to file that he rugged 10 million and owes the IRS. Because for me, I mean, there's a lot of time I could have been launching, shit coins, and instead I was just doing spreadsheets.
Yeah, but that's $4 million of IRS money that's taxable right there. So they might just be like, hey, this big on-chain thing happened right here. That's
it's a good point. My filings were less than impressive this year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like big juicy pre-sales that got lost.
Well, gentlemen, hopefully in 2 weeks or so, and then it'd be great to catch either an episode right before or right after the halvening, because it's the biggest party of every 4 years. I remember watching the last one.
Yeah, I actually watch the halvening each year. So I usually watch it on Box Mining. So.
And by watching it, we mean we watch blocks get produced and chat.
Yeah, watch Box talk about mining.
It's way cooler than it sounds. Dude, I really enjoyed this. It was really good. No, it's gonna be better. It's voxels. It's gonna be voxels, not box. We'll be doing it in the metaverse with a DJ and probably a couple meme coins and a flag waving guy like myself. But anyways, dude, I loved it.
A month to set that up, so I expect an invite.
It's token gated. It's token gated, bro. You gotta buy my coin. I have a pre-sale coming out next week. Big announcement coming soon.
Did you just hear about the tax? Okay.
The tax. Your name is on screen.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement.
Good luck staying in jail.
5, 4, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.